Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creeps, Creatures, and Haunts.
Oh, hi.
Today we are going to be talking about Valentine's Day and
Ooh.
some urban legends and all that go around it, because this will be on Friday, so it'll be, you're going to be listening to it around Valentine's Day, so we thought it would be appropriate to kind of talk about some urban legends and myths. I wouldn't say any of these are necessarily supernatural, but they are not natural, I would say. um, you know, and obviously most of these things, like I said, they're not. Well, they actually happened, but like none of the stuff that's in these are things that are really, for the most part, still practiced. They're like more old world beliefs, I guess.
Yeah, like back in the day,
Yeah, back in the day.
Back when they used to do like just
And like the
shit.
80s.
Thanks. Yeah, back in the 80s.
Something that's actually kind of funny about Valentine's Day is that, like researching and stuff, no one really truly knows exactly how it started. Right, because there's like the whole like thing about Saint Valentine, and he's basically a person that like married people in private, and I guess he ended up getting executed because he was caught. But that's not really necessarily like there's no, I guess, real documentation saying, that it went back to that it's that's necessarily where it traces back to, I guess. But one of the things that did happen was kind of interesting. Is was a Roman festival called Lupercalia, which I have heard of before, but didn't really, I guess, know what it consisted of. So one of the things that it consisted of, it was also held between February 13th and 15th, which is why people believe that it may be something that kind of originally kind of started the whole some of the Valentine's Day's traditions of it being like a day of like romance and all of that kind of stuff. But it consisted of young men running around naked, carrying the strips of animal flesh from sacrificed animals. Very important that they're sacrificed animals. And women would seek these men out to be whipped by said sacrificed animal flesh strips. And this was believed to increase the likelihood of childbirth. The fertility would be higher.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And, yeah. And then to couple with that, I guess another thing that was a big festivity that would be done was women and men would put their names in an urn, and they would pull out the names, and basically who you got would be your mate. That you would.
Man. The Romans were kinky.
Yeah, they were. I mean, it's kind of like Tinder in a way. Just
like they had those kind of parties in the 70s where you put your your keys in a fishbowl and grab random keys and go home with whoever you got keys from.
I'm sure no one got murdered. Nobody got murdered or violated. I'm sure it was all fine.
Whatever.
What a crazy. It's just hard to imagine a time where like something like that was a thing that would be like, oh yeah, let's do that. Let's just take off our clothes and run around the streets whipping women.
Yeah.
Like that seems.
I don't even know what to say. Like honestly, like who I want to know who these people are that like come up with these ideas. Like who's the original person that they're like, you know what we should do? We should definitely strip down naked and whip people with animal hides.
Well, I mean, like, back in the olden days, medieval times stuff, which just predates medieval times, to be exact. Like, what was it? It was the late 490s. So, I mean, this is the Roman Empire and all this. This is a long time ago, even before medieval times. But, I mean, and this actually, I just spawned a good idea for a future episode is medieval torture devices.
Oh, geez.
And torture. That would be a fun episode if you're interested in us talking about that or have suggestions on torture. If you would like us to feature.
What's your favorite torture device?
Yeah, let us know what torture really gets your gears going. And we will talk about it.
Some of them have gears on them.
Yes, they do. What fun. I want to go to that medieval torture museum that's in Florida. I think it's in Florida.
Oh.
For something or another, I think. That part of Florida that's like real haunted, whatever,
Oh, St. Augustine.
Yeah, St. Augustine, I believe is where it's at. There's the torture museum. I want to go there. That sounds fun. Maybe when we go to Florida this year, we'll do that. But anyways, yeah, so that's fun. But another like superstitious belief. I don't really know necessarily if this doesn't really necessarily have to do with Lupercalia because this was from 1662, but they found record in a diary from a man named Samuel Pepys about how his wife would shield her eyes from men that were working on renovating their house because there was a big belief back then that on Valentine's Day, the first man you saw, if you were a woman, you would just fall madly in love with. You would just fall in love with that man and you could not resist yourself. I also just love sarcastically saying how women were thought of back then. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, she just can't control herself. She's just gonna fall madly in love with this man. Because...
because people were put in asylums for like womanly issues. Like, how vague of a description is that? That oh, she has womanly issues. Let's commit her. You know.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of just like
so many things.
Like old beliefs, you know, that have to do with like the woman's body and stuff like that. That's just really like hearing about it now is so cringy and just horrible. And it's like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that used to be done. Like me and Kim were talking about earlier, lobotomies. Me and Kim have great conversations. We were just talking about some lobotomies, I think over dinner, and and I'm not kidding, we were. And, you know, it's just kind of crazy. And I mentioned, I'm like, imagine, like, if you were the doctor when it, like, came out that, like, oh, lobotomies are just not helping anybody. And you're like, uh-oh. like,
you're in the middle of one, like...
You just scramble in someone's brain and just making them an invalid. And you're like, oopsie, sorry, buddy. Like what? It's crazy, you know? And the real scary thing about, like, that is, like, yeah, it was a while ago, but, like, not even really, it was like a lifetime ago, like one lifetime ago, you know? Not like it's, like, centuries and centuries, but, like, literally, like...
No.
When was
1900s at least?
Yeah. Because tuberculosis, like, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone alive during the big outbreak. Now, how many years ago was that?
Huh. I want to say early 1900s as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, really,
same thing. Like
in the grand scope of things, that's not that long ago.
Yeah, and I mean, with tuberculosis, they thought removing someone's ribs would help them breathe better.
Right. Can you imagine? You just rip them out.
Yeah.
We're going on a tangent here. This has like nothing to do with the subject, but you know, we ramble. And it is this really scary to think. And speaking of tuberculosis, I really want to get into that place this year, if we can. The Kentucky place, Louisville. Apparently, people in Louisville, that's how they say it. It's like,
should I tell the story?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Okay, so he's talking about Waverly Hills Sanitarium, and it's near Louisville, Kentucky. We were heading down there. It was a friend of mine, and we were going down there to do a ghost hunt. And there was a huge traffic jam on the freeway, so we got off at the first exit we could possibly get to. Well, the local people decided, well, we should probably direct these people so they're not completely lost, because one, cell service wasn't that great out in that area. Like, right. It was giving us no directions. It kept telling us to go back to the freeway, and we're like, no, I don't want to sit there for 3 hours, because it was a really, really awful accident. So anyway, we're driving, and we're following a few cars, and we get to this stop sign, and there's this guy. I'm going to name him Bubba, because
he
looked like his name was Bubba.
That's probably his name.
Or like Billy Bob or something like that. And he, I open my window, and he leans in, and he literally goes, ugh. And I'm like, what? Louisville. He said Louisville. Yeah. I finally got it, and I'm like, yeah, that's where we're heading. And so he gave us directions on where to go, and we kind of got them because, you know, the language barrier was very, very high. But yeah, that's literally how he said it, and it was the funniest thing. We laughed about it the entire way to Waverly Hills. We're just like, is that how they pronounce it? Like, I know that they kind of blended in, but it was literally like, and there was no syllables. It was just, whoa. It was like he spit, like, bleh. Like, it was. But it always cracks me up. Anytime anybody says Louisville, I'm like, oh, I mean, whoa.
All you think of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, back to like the Valentine's Day, I guess, thing is the next one I kind of have here is birds.
Birds.
Uh, it was a belief that, well, yeah, she's, Debbie, she's terrified of birds. I mean, I don't like birds. I think birds are evil demon creatures.
I'm just thinking of the Birds, the movie.
Well, right, I know. But,
Yeah.
but there is a belief that birds would find their mates like for the lifetime on Valentine's Day. There's really no truth to that.
Birds have calendars in their little bird nest. They're like, oh, look, it's Valentine's Day. I better go find a mate.
Well, there's weird things like that with nature, though, where things do tend to happen on a certain date with certain things. But apparently, this one is not one that is true. But there is another belief that the first, again, with fucking women, mindless females, when the first bird a woman saw on Valentine's Day could determine the status of the man she would end up with, because she can't have a status of her own. Anyways, yeah. And so, like, some examples are, so a canary meant that you'd, like, basically marry a doctor. It literally was specified that meant you're going to have a doctor, where a golden finch is just like a rich man. So if you see a golden finch, that's the first bird you see on Valentine's Day, you will find yourself a rich man. Woodpecker, though, you'll be alone. No marriage for you. Oh, no. What you think? Right? Woodpecker, I mean, they're kind of like, they kind of like to drill things. You think?
They're always knocking.
Yeah, you'd think that they might actually.
Knocking on everybody's door.
Maybe like a raven or something like that seems like something that would be like, you're not going to get married because like usually they looked as like death or something like that. Like,
You marry a vampire.
never die. They could turn you into a vampire. Or a sticky snack. And here's a fun little ritual. It's a weird tradition that going to a cemetery. I didn't find much context to where the hell like this was actually like a thing, but apparently it's with some kind of belief somewhere that you would go to the cemetery in the night before Valentine's Day and run around the church 12 times. If you did this correctly, you will see a ghost of your future lover. Others believe it would be omens of your intended. So like that's like the same thing. So I guess not a ghost, just an omen they believe, but.
Okay, well, here, let's tell about the one story that we heard at when we were in Tennessee. They told
Which
us that
one?
story about the jilted bride, or the one that was murdered, and how if you have your picture taken at her grave, if she appears in your photograph.
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Was it if she appears in your photograph, the marriage is not going to last?
Yeah, something like there's like a threat, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you have to get out of the marriage or she appears in your photograph.
Yeah.
Because they were like one of the stories they told us, because this was like, it's like a folklore urban legend, but I guess someone did. And then not too long after, like the husband like cheated or something like that.
Yeah, it was basically she was a jilted bride, and then she took her own life. And it turned out that her lover actually went on a hunting trip and got mauled by a bear. And that's why he didn't show up for the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but supposedly you can call upon her. You go to her grave. I think her name's probably Mary or something.
Yeah, I don't
But
remember.
you go to her grave and take a picture with your fiance or your husband, depending on if you're married or not. And if she appears in your photograph, the marriage is not going to last. But if she does not, that means that you're good to go.
Yeah. The ghost walks, actually, eventually I will talk about some of the other stuff because there's the nesting witch, which that's all I'll say because I want to say that for another episode. So make sure you're subscribed and all that. So when that episode does eventually come out, if that sounds interesting. But I will say if you were ever in Tennessee, the ghost walk was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect a lot from it, but I don't remember the exact people that we went to, but like they gave us like equipment and all that. It was fun. It was a fun time.
Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, that's kind of, there's a lot of stuff like that. I feel like a lot of urban legends and stuff along those lines. Mm-hmm. A lot of it has to do with like mothers missing their babies or a jilted bride. I mean, heck, Esther Hale, Beaver Creek, that was her whole thing was like, well, that's the main reason she haunts, isn't it? It's like her lover.
Was a jilted bride.
Yeah, at the altar, yeah.
Basically starved to death in her wedding gown in her house, and now she takes her revenge on other people.
Yeah, but only if you shine your lights like 5 times or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy, It's like, but the thing, I always love those urban legends and stuff because like cars didn't exist when this person supposedly existed. So it's like, so she just waited until cars existed so they could flash their headlights, and then she can take souls.
Well, maybe she's afraid of the headlights. Maybe that's why she attacks people. Because she's like, ooh, what is this weird witchcraft? And
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's the consensus there. That's why.
I'm trying to put reason.
It's a ghost story. I don't think you're supposed to do that. Another one I have here, this is just like a little list of weird things that people used to do. The women would turn to food for Valentine's Day Valentine's issues. They might grow marigolds in the path of their love. They might pin bay leaves to a pillow or place a slice of wedding cake beneath their bed to encourage prophetic dreams. Or they'd smash up leeks and earthworms and eat mixtures to help strengthen a failing relationship. And this is an excerpt from, I guess, a book that Lisa Graves and Trisha Cohen wrote about, like, old beliefs and just weird shit that people would do. Doesn't that sound yummy, though? Leeks and earthworms.
No.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
No. I do not want that in our next snack box. Not one bit.
And I guess there is actually, like, parties where people would have and stuff, and they would have, like, special hors d'oeuvres to, like, help increase fertility and stuff like that. And it was, like, kind of, like, noted, like, maybe, like, they had that kind of thing. Yeah, probably lots of oysters or something.
I'm never coming to a Valentine's party. Don't even bother inviting me if anybody thinks of that. No way.
People,
I'm not eating a worm.
Is that a thing? Do people still have Valentine? I mean, I know there's, like,
I don't know.
maybe.
I mean, they used to have Valentine's Day dances in
That's
like
like
school.
Yeah,
and
for
stuff,
school, yeah, for sure. But, like, I don't know if, like, people really have parties. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like a Valentine's Day orgy or something? I don't know. Well, that's Lupercalia. That's basically what that was.
Yeah, that was
a giant
basically
town-wide orgy.
Well, I mean,
the Romans. I mean,
the Romans.
I mean, come on. I mean, just if all you know about Greek mythology is what you learned in school, I implore you to, like, go look up, like, the actual stories, especially around Zeus, because basically
he was a man-whore.
He just plowed everything that moved.
Oh yeah, he was a big.
Yeah, lots of incest, just lots of, like, oh yeah, like, the actual stories are pretty awful and dark. You know, like, Disney might Disney-fy stuff with, like, Hercules and that, but believe me, that is not, do yourself a favor. And another good cool thing, and, like, there's a term for vinegar valentines, which are, like, anti-Valentine Day cards that people would, like, wear, actually, like, big cards, or give to people to basically just poo-poo on you, be like, no thanks. Like, I'm not interested.
Vinegar.
Which has become more of a thing because a lot of people, like, sort of have a detestment for Valentine's Day now. Because it is just a really commercialized holiday. Valentine's Day originates way before, like, Hallmark and all of that, but definitely it's one of the most capitalized on holidays. I mean, all holidays are capitalized on, and usually if you look for the roots of things like Christmas and stuff, none of it's really what you think it is. Mm-hmm. Like, most people just, you know.
It's funny, most of those holidays were like pagan holidays, and the Christians just came along and they're like, well, let's slap on some Jesus on this, and, you know, we can call it a holiday. And
there was another one I found interesting too, because there was actually a thing that I saw, and I didn't mark it down, but when researching where, like, the Valentine's Day card originated from, I believe that, like, originated from somebody, like, feeling bad for, like, an inmate or something and giving them a Valentine's Day card. Mm. And then I think he got murdered because they found out, because, you know,
like you do.
That's what you do in the olden times. Everyone just was really murdery, I feel like.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, there was a Valentine's Day massacre where they killed a bunch of mobsters.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was reading about. I kind of forgot about that, and that's actually one of the urban legends. Was there's one of these bricks that are, like, cursed or something from that. I don't really know what it was talking about. Mm-hmm. Why did that happen? I don't even.
Well, it was just about the whole rivalries and stuff like that. And Al Capone.
They were lined up against a brick wall of a warehouse in Lincoln Park and enventilated with Tommy guns. Oh, enventilated. What a word to describe. It took me a minute to realize. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh. Yes, they put a lot of holes in them.
They turned them into Swiss cheese.
tourist attractions. The warehouse soon became, I'm just reading right off his website now because I just happened to find it, torn down in 1967 with bricks purchased by Canadian businessman George Pate. They were then used by the men's room of a 20s themed club with plexiglass wall around them so men could pee on them. Huh. Yeah, the club closed and bricks were sold off piecemeal, with many ending up at the Mob Museum in Las Vegas. Pate claimed that many of the individual bricks he sold came back to him, returned by people who befell bad luck in business, love, and health due to them. Predates the existence of the curses in Patty's story actually being true. I don't know. I'm just gonna say it's true. It's more fun that way. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff with Valentine's Day and basically any holiday. You know, we could go on and on, but that was just a couple that I kind of found fun. We find weird things fun here.
Yes, very much so. Normal is boring.
Yes, it is. You know, I mean, but yeah, do you like the holiday themed episodes where we talk about the urban legends and that kind of stuff? Let us know. Leave a comment. It helps. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure you check out the YouTube channel. We also have Patreon. Check that out. A whole bunch of different tiers. You can get fun little cards. They'll be Valentine's Day cards, but maybe it'll be a Valentine's Day card. I don't know. Yeah. But Kim makes cards. We'll send them to you if you're on certain tiers. And there's other things like shirts and that you can get. Also, if you're interested in the equipment and stuff we use, links to all that for you to be able to purchase in the description below. But yeah, I think that does it for this episode. And we will see you guys in the next one, what's the next one that we are doing? Technically, we've already done, but we forgot it's Valentine's Day, so we filmed this episode, and this is this Friday's episode instead. Oops. What is it we just did? I liked the episode. What did we just do, Kim?
Ghost types.
Yeah, and the next episode is going to be about ghost types. We forgot what we did, but looked it up. Ghost types. That's what it's going to be about. So we go over ghost types. We actually, if you're watching video form of it, we actually have a little bit of evidence and stuff that we've caught. Not a whole bunch, but a little bit of stuff and some pictures and stuff that'll be in that as well. But look forward to that one. And then we also have an interview planned up with the ghost hunter. So make sure, again, you're subscribed and have the notification bell turned on so you don't miss any of the exciting, fun stuff that we got coming up. All right, we'll see you guys in the next.